Alaikum. Let's answer some questions that I have not answered from a couple weeks ago. And so this is part 2 of the Q&A. And all right, let me pull it up really quick. I'm wearing a jacket because it's freezing here in Austin. So it's a chilly day today. All right, so Bismillah. Question number 1. There's a lot of questions that came from Instagram, so I'm just gonna go through the ones that I think would help other people. But first question is, what are your thoughts on apps and any recommended ones? The apps is just a tool. It's not negative, it's not positive. It's what you make it with your thoughts and how you see it and how you use it. So just like it's just a tool, right? So if you give a hammer to someone who doesn't know how to use the hammer, it's going to harm them because they don't know how to use the hammer. But if you teach them how to use the hammer, they'll figure out, oh, this is how you use it properly. So when it comes to the apps, there's the mindset that you have to have in order before the mindset and the attitude that you need to have before you get on the apps. Otherwise, if you're just going on there coming from a place of dread and just desperation and all that, it's not going to feel good. It's going to feel very, let's just say, not a good time. Question, can we have a healthy relationship between an anxious attachment partner and an avoidant one? And yes, of course, now that usually is the most common dynamic. One is usually more avoidant, one is more anxious, and they're attached to each other. Now, what would make a healthy relationship is when you are very aware of your tendencies and you communicate it and you don't let it take over. So I've shared this before, but I'm more of on the avoidant side, and my tendencies do come up a lot, and either with friends or with family or with my husband, but I tend to notice it when it comes up when I'm trying to avoid something, and I share it so that the other person doesn't feel completely out of just blindsided. And if you're not aware how to manage these triggers, it'll feel like an unhealthy dynamic because the other person will feel like you're hiding something or that you're pulling away from them, and then the anxious person gets anxious and starts to, try to chase them, and then the avoidant gets more avoidant, and even vice versa, right? When you feel the anxious tendencies come up, you have to learn how to communicate it with grace and with a lot of vulnerability and not from an attacking space, right? So you learn how to say, listen, I feel really anxious because of this, and I know it's not your fault. It's just I'm just letting you know that this is coming up for me, and I'm learning how to process this. So I just need some space for a minute. So you just have to learn how to communicate, how to manage stuff like that. And that comes from learning what your thoughts are about yourself, about your self-concept. That always comes with learning what triggers you too. Okay. Struggling that it's not meant for me and to stop wanting it. Why would you stop wanting it? First of all, and I can see why you want to stop wanting it, so you can stop stressing about why you don't have it. But you can always get to a place, and I was actually just talking to one of my clients about this. She went from a place of feeling like I need this, I don't have it, and it's just like really hard that I don't have it, to feeling much more detached and lighter and just more excited for whatever's coming in the future. And she doesn't know what's coming, but she knows that Allah has big plans for her in store. And for the part specifically about struggling that it's not meant for me, I'm going to refer you to the video that I titled, I think I titled it How to Know If It's Meant for You. So how to know if it's written for you. I think it's more in the beginning videos. Okay. Struggling as a single full-time mom to remarry after a relationship just ended. After 10-month relationship, there was no ring. Okay, so for this one specifically, your self-concept as a single mother will matter in so many ways, because a lot of women, especially after they're divorced or they have children, they see themselves as secondhand citizens, or like, who wants this baggage kind of mentality. And even if you're subconsciously carrying that kind of belief, you're going to let in people in your life that see you that way, and they're not going to want to commit to you. it's really important. It's so important to focus on your self-concept. For this one specifically, I'm going to refer you to my Inner Shift course, the $200 one. It really helps you with the identity stuff and uncovering what you think about yourself and what you think the opposite gender will think of you, and that all of that stuff will really help, inshallah. Okay. Salam, do you marry for love or for money? I struggle to find both in the same person. So there's two types of people, right? There's people who are kind of like the ride or die kind of people who will marry you where you're at and grow with you, which I see as like the most beautiful marriages, where they don't necessarily marry you for the money, but they marry you for like, listen, I get where you're at and I see that you're working towards a bigger future and I'm okay with it. And they start there and they grow together. So that's one. And then there are people who are like, I don't want to deal with it. I just want to marry someone who's already well off and I don't want to deal with anything. And that's also there. But and like to answer your question, there's always both types out there. And you want to focus on what you care for more, like what kind of qualities you care for. Ideally, we'll choose both deen and akhlaq, but what if we have to choose one? You don't have to choose anything. You don't have to, if you take care of the thought that like I have to be married, so I have to choose one, that's just a lot of pressure. You don't have to be married. Because why do we even want to be married in the first place? We want to feel fulfillment, want to feel joy, want to feel sakina. But if you marry someone and they don't have the akhlaq, you're done. Like, I don't know what to tell you there, but just there's no one or the other. Those, when I say don't lower your standards, these are the things that are non-negotiable in any way. Other things don't matter, but this is the core thing that matters in terms of what you're choosing. So that it's not, you don't compromise. You have like, you'd rather stay single than even mess with that. Never feel it. Okay, let me go on to the next question. I am so avoidant, Sai. How can I build a secure form of attachment? I'm going to refer you to the Inner Shift course, but avoidant attachment comes from avoiding what you think you're going to feel when you get closer to someone. So it's to practice of understanding avoidant attachment is, what are you afraid of feeling when you think you're going to get close to someone? It's usually rejection, right? It's like, I remember when I would go through it, I would just reject people ahead of time because I don't want to feel rejected by them. So I would practice feeling the feeling of rejection. Why am I so afraid of it? What's so scary about rejection? It's because I'm scared of what I'm usually rejecting myself first so that people don't reject me. But the thoughts that come up in that moment is what I'm so terrified of. It has nothing to do with the other person. It's what you're avoiding the feeling, which is coming from your own thoughts. And I should make a video on this, on the avoidant. I think I did, but I'll do it again. Actually, no, I didn't. I'll do it. I'll do one day. Okay. Do you also introduce online courses and give certificates after completing the course? No, why would I give certificates? That's some white people think. I don't give certificates, no. You take the course to improve yourself so you can have a better life. It has nothing to do with certifying anyone. No one could, it's not ijazas. How can I convince her to have a simple nikah? You come from love and you say, listen, I love you so, like, I have so much love for you, and I think I would love if we could have a simple nikah, and if we could use this money towards like something that would work for both of us, and talk it through with her. Maybe she might have resistance and say, no, I really want a big wedding and this, and just, you kind of have to talk through with it and see if you can compromise in the middle. And also that says a lot about her. If she's like, absolutely not, I want a big full wedding and no other way, then that says a little bit about what she prioritizes, and see if that even matches with your values. Um, what if the woman approaches first and expresses her interest first? There's no problem with that. I've seen that multiple times. Matter of fact, like, um, it's it's common for a woman to drop a hint first, and it's not a problem. And there's many ways to drop hints, and there's like in a very respectful halal way, obviously. And that's all a man really needs to make moves. So sometimes it does take the woman to kind of to show that she's interested so that he can make the move. And people get so afraid of like, but what if I'm chasing, or what? That's so rude. That's so weird. No, it's not weird. It's not weird. And back in the time of the Sahaba, there was a woman that literally in the middle of the masjid asked for the prophet, for the wanted to marry the prophet. So she would say it in the middle of the masjid. There's no shame in that. It's just you just have to approach in a very respectful way. And it this varies. So this topic is like, don't be socially smart about it. Let me just leave it at that. What are the boundaries between friendships and romantic relationships in Islam? Because the latter is haram. If you know it's haram, then why are you asking? There's okay. Is it just me, or do you guys struggle to make conversation? My experience so far with the marriage app. Making conversation is a skill to learn. It's very, you practice learning how to make conversations with first, if you see yourself as someone who's awkward and doesn't know how to start conversations, it starts with seeing yourself as not as awkward and seeing that you're actually a fun, interesting person that has a lot to talk about. But if you see yourself as like, I'm really awkward, I don't know what to say, and I don't know what to do, then you're gonna not know how to start conversations because you're coming from a place of a shame from yourself, you know. How to deal with any sort. How to deal when you start to nitpick, but at the same time you feel like it's settling and lying. Okay, this is a great question. This is I would like to create a whole video on this, but what I always ask the question, would you rather be single or deal with this for the rest of your life? Okay, so when it comes to the very thing you're nitpicking, if it's something that it's like, I absolutely cannot deal with it, and you like your reason of why, and it aligns with your values, and you understand that it's just not something that contributes to a healthy marriage. And here's the thing, a lot of people like have preferences or things that they want that doesn't necessarily contribute to a healthy marriage or to their long-term goals, and it doesn't matter in any way, but they want to nitpick because of either from an ego perspective, or they just don't want to deal with it. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. If that's your choice, to do that. But you also need to own the fact that yes, I could be single for the rest of my life if this is something that I really don't want. So it is something to consider. Like, the thing that I'm so nitpicky about, if I don't choose it, is it something that I want to deal with, or rather be single? Really, that's the question that determines if this is something that's actually a deal breaker or not. Happily single, by the way, not single, miserable. As we know, relationships are haram, but can we date to know each other before marriage? The word dating, Islamically, okay, the way I define it, at least when I talk about my videos, is you're only getting to know each other with the intention of marriage. We're not having fun. This isn't like an actual relationship where you flirt and all of this. It's very intentional with the way you get to know each other. There's a timeline, there's intentions, and you're both on the same page. What happens in, let's say, I don't know, non-Muslim dating, is they're just dating to see what happens. We don't do that. We don't date to see what happens. We date to see, like, okay, our intention is marriage. Even if it doesn't work out that we get married, as long as our intention Islamically is we're here to get married. Sorry, this may be a dumb question. How would one become one of your clients? If you sign up on my website, there's a consult to to be my full-time client for 6 months, that's only for people who are ready to become one of my full-time clients. So it's on my website, and you can DM me if you're having trouble finding the link. How long to recover from breakup and have confidence? This is a great question, because one time I had a client where she was struggling with recovering from a breakup for over like 3 years. And it just took one session for her to get over it, because it's not necessarily time that helps you recover. It's actually processing the emotion that's keeping you stuck. That can speed up the process. So sometimes, like, I help clients deal with breakups and divorces and stuff like that. Sometimes it takes a couple sessions, sometimes it takes like maybe a month or two. But someone who doesn't really take the time to process it, like either with a professional or even by themselves on a real level, it could take years and years. So it's the breakup only hurts because of what you make it mean about you, your future, and about what you're capable of too. So that's why it impacts your confidence. Is it common to be married to your spouse for years and then realize that you are not a good fit? Common, I wouldn't say like that common, but yes, you could be married and then something comes up where you realize you're not compatible. And yeah, that happens. And it's not necessarily a problem if you deal with it in a graceful way. Right? Like, as an example, if let's say you both married each other very young, but as you grew up, you realize your values are very different, or someone their values, like in Islam, really changed and it's kind of conflicting now, and it's hard to be with someone with conflicting beliefs, or the decisions that they want in life is very different. So all of that can just come up, and it's time to divorce or break up. And it's not a problem, because the success of a marriage doesn't necessarily mean how long it is. It just means sometimes Allah sends you people for a season, and that chapter has been closed, and now it's time to move on to the next chapter. So divorce and all that is not a bad thing. It's in Islam. There's a reason why we have divorce, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just the way you approach it and how you deal with it, and that's what affects you long term. When a guy marries purely based on looks, is that a failed marriage? I would say if there's no values at all, then yeah. I mean, if they're only based on looks, you've seen how celebrities don't really last. They marry based off of shallow things, and sometimes it doesn't last. Um, Are you just looking through all the questions to see what could help? What do I do when I'm a person who wants a connection but is very avoidant when it actually happens? You have to face the fear of what are you afraid of will happen. And usually, I'm saying this from experience, the fear is, if I get too close, they're gonna find out who I actually am, and they're gonna reject me for who I am. And that just feels really painful, to be rejected for who I am. So we avoid the whole thing altogether. I worry about finding a spouse who's okay with not having kids. Oh, they're out there. There's plenty of Muslim women and men who are out there who don't want kids. How to deal with inconsistent efforts from the other side when I'm fully invested. Uh, you shouldn't be invested in someone who isn't interested in you. You do your part, you observe and see, are they putting in the effort? And if not, then you've lost interest. You don't need to be interested in someone that is not interested in you. That's literally reaffirming the part of you that feels like it's not good. I'm not good enough, and I need to put in a lot of effort for people to like me. You have to stop yourself when you see that someone isn't putting in the effort. dealing with attachment styles as Muslims. I have a video on that, so you should watch that, inshallah. It's about 30 minutes. How to stop caring about what others think of you and your spouse. Great question. What really matters here is understanding why our people's opinions really affect us. It's because we think what they think has some validity in it, like it's actually true. So if someone says something about you and the only reason you're afraid of them saying that about you is because you might believe it's true. So how do I say this? So if someone says something about me and says, oh, like Lemma is so dumb, and I don't like when someone says that, it's because I low-key believe that it's true about me. And if someone says like, oh, Lemma is really lazy, and I hear that, I'm like, yeah, it's kind of true. Like I don't care that they say that because I know it's true, and it's not something that bothers me because I accept it. So self-acceptance is the cure to stop caring about what others think of you. Because you're so afraid of like, what if they say this about me? What if they say this about me? And like, yeah, they're gonna say that about you, but what do you think? What thoughts comes up for you when they say that about you? And do you validate yourself, or do you need to change their mind so that you can feel okay? And that's kind of understanding that their thoughts doesn't impact you. It's just what you think of their thoughts that make it either true or not. That's I need to write that down so I can teach a class on that. But but this is a really important concept though. How to stop begging for love or being desperate for a relationship and rather love and accept oneself. This one I'm going to refer you to the Inner Shift 2.0, not 2.0, the main course. And a really quick summary is when you have a solid self-concept, you don't need to beg for anyone. You don't need to beg or be desperate with anyone, because desperation and begging comes from the lack of love inside yourself. Like you don't have it because of the constant shame inside of your head. All the nasty thoughts that you keep telling yourself is creating a lack of love, a void that your brain right now thinks in order to make that go away, I have to get love from someone else. So it will constantly do that unless you choose to break that cycle and be like, no, wait, actually, just because someone doesn't love me doesn't mean I'm unlovable. There's like so much to, there's so much to, what's the word? Yeah. So once you just see yourself as a solid, lovable creation of Allah, you're set for life, really. Like, and I'm saying you operate from that, right? Doesn't mean every now and then you have negative thoughts, but I'm saying the majority of your brain is mostly operating on positive, like a good, solid, positive self-concept. Getting over the desire to be wanted is just leads to heartache each time. In order to the desire to be wanted is natural, but to learn how to manage it in a way where you're getting it from yourself, you're getting it from your solid self-concept, it doesn't make you outsource it to other people. That will really help. And all of this stuff, by the way, you can from the Inner Shift course, this will help you a lot. Just realigning your purpose, realigning all of the little things, all the detachment, understanding all the other things, like this helps with all of it. Question of my booty, if I should settle down for less than what I wanted. I don't know. I'm guessing this is the word for mahr. As I don't know if that's what. Yeah, I mean, you should be reasonable. I think Imam Majid said, if don't quote me on this, but I think he said 10% of the man's income should be the mahr. Yeah. Okay. I'm trying to be sincere after praying. I don't think he's the one. It's hard. How to move on? You say, Ya Allah, this is really, really hard, but in order to see him as a human being, you have to cut it off as soon as possible because he's someone else's person. All right. How do I know if I'm ready for marriage? When you start taking responsibility for your triggers and your pain and you don't dump it on other people. And you take responsibility for your own happiness. Uh, again, this is not all or nothing. It's not perfectionism. Um, it's more like you're driven from it, right? Do you help clients who are married, are Muslim women married to Christians or Jews? Yeah, I do. Why do Arab men have some sort of insecurity? Why do Arab women have some sort of insecurity? We all have insecurities, but I think with Arab men specifically, we need to help them feel more safe to get the help they need. But right now they're not there yet, and I think we have a long way to go. But there's a lot of amazing, incredible Arab men out there that are very open and ready to work on themselves. So it's not all or nothing. Uh, okay. What's the best dua to make for a good marriage? You make it from your heart. You make whatever comes up for you to your heart. All right, I'm gonna leave it out here. One more. Do you believe in the right person, wrong time for someone to come in your life later? I personally, I don't believe in right person, wrong time because if you're not married to them, they're not your person. Period. Like there's no, oh, this was the right person, but there was the wrong time. Whatever Allah wrote for you is the person. You don't get to decide that they were the right person for you because you don't know how it would have actually played out. So it's always if it didn't end up in marriage, they were not your person. And that's it. Okay. All right, that's it for now. Wow, 27 minutes. Okay, so just a summary, if you do want to join the Inner Shift main course, like just to kind of this covers a lot of like kind of what I talked about. It'll help you shift internally with a bunch of things. And it helped a lot of my people with shifting into feeling much lighter about the process to feel like it's much easier. So if you want to join that, links in my bio, in my description, and I'll see you in the next video. Assalamu alaikum.